Often it is essential to shed light on the difference in the variability of two population distributions. This is one of the primary reasons you shall gain knowledge about the F distribution in this module. You shall also learn the construction of F random variable, its parameters, and how for a given F value the probability under the F density curve is determined. You shall also know its two important implications, which are hypothesis testing for variability of two population distributions and confidence interval estimates of the ratio of two population variances. You shall also understand the significance of the F test. On the basis of the outcome of this test regarding the equality of the variances of the two population distributions, the decision regarding the suitability of the two-sample T procedure or pooled T procedure for hypothesis testing concerning the difference between the two sample means is taken. So let me introduce the subject to you. In the earlier modules, we learned how the analysis concerning confidence interval and hypothesis testing for single mean and single proportion is extended to two sample means and proportions. Apart from obtaining information about the difference between two population means and proportions, it is often the case that investigator also needs to compare the variability or variances or standard deviations of the two population distributions. Sometimes engineers are required to compare inherent variability in the two or more processes, or scientists need to explore whether the fertility distribution in the younger adults had a larger variability than in the elderly population. For making such comparisons, we introduce a new family of distributions, namely the F distribution. It is also extensively applied in comparing variability of more than two samples. So the question is, what is F distribution? Let us understand this F distribution. In addition to the T distribution, the F distribution also plays an important role in connection with sampling from a population that is normally distributed. While doing confidence interval estimation and hypothesis testing that involve two different population distributions, the investigator necessarily needs to know whether the two population distributions have equal spread or not. Because depending upon the variability of the two distributions, the investigator decides whether to use pooled variance or two-sample procedure for making inferences related to two-sample means. If the two distributions have equal variances, then a common, also called pooled variance, must be estimated from the sample data before proceeding with the final analysis. So it is the F distribution that concerns testing of variability of the two independent population distributions around their respective means. Construction of F random variable is now discussed in this section 3.1. Suppose x1 and x2 are two independent random variables drawn from two normal populations with respective sizes n1 and n2 having chi-square distributions with nu1 equal to n1 minus 1 and nu2 equal to n2 minus 1 degrees of freedom, defined as df. Then the F random variable is defined as the ratio of two chi-squared variables divided by their respective degrees of freedom. F is defined as x1 upon v1 whole divided by x2 upon nu2. This is our equation 1. Here we know that x1 is chi1 square and is defined to be equal to n1 minus 1 s1 square upon sigma 1 square. And similarly, x2 is defined to be equal to chi square and is equal to n2 minus 1 into S2 square upon sigma 2 square. Now substituting the values of x1 and x2 in equation 1, we obtain f is equal to S1 square divided by sigma 1 square whole divided by S2 square upon sigma 2 square, which is on simplification is equal to S1 square into sigma 2 square upon S2 square into sigma 1 square. Now this is our equation 2. The random variable so constructed has an F distribution with nu1 equal to n minus 1 and nu2 equal to n2 minus 1 degrees of freedom. On account of its formula containing ratios of two variances, it is also called variance ratio distribution. Now its complicated density function will not be used in our analysis, so we have avoided writing that function here. Let us now understand what are the properties of the F distribution in section 3.2. The F distribution has two parameters, nu1 and nu2. The parameters nu1, which we have defined is equal to n1 minus 1, is called the number of degrees of freedom of the numerator, and similarly nu2, which is n2 minus 1, is the number of degrees of freedom of the denominator. Both nu1 and nu2 are positive integers. The curves of a typical F distribution are shown in our figure 1, and this F distribution is said to be completely identified if nu1 and nu2 are known. So you can see this a family of, or in this case two distributions, F distributions for different degrees of freedom. We have one for 6 and 10 and the second for 10 and 30. And we have f on the x-axis and density function on the y-axis. So these are the typical shapes of the F distributions. The F random variable cannot assume a negative value. Now since it is a ratio of two chi-squared variables, and a chi-squared variable itself by definition is a ratio of only positive numbers, therefore F random variable is always a positive number. Now unlike the t and z random variables that range from minus infinity to plus infinity, the F variable starts with minimum value of 0 on the horizontal axis and it extends to any positive number. And this is derived from the fact that the values are always positive. The density curve of the F distribution is not symmetric in nature, rather it is skewed to the right, which you have seen in figure 1 also. As a result, unlike t and z random variables, both the upper lower tail areas must be calculated separately for F distribution. Whereas, let me remind you, in t and z distribution, the lower and upper tails are symmetrical. In section 3.3, which is our current session, let us understand the critical values under the F density curve. Now, considering its importance, F distribution has been extensively tabulated. Now, similar to notation T alpha nu for T distribution, we use the notation of F alpha nu1 nu2 for the value of F random variable on the horizontal axis that captures alpha area to the right side of the F density curve with nu1 and nu2 degrees of freedom for the numerator and denominator respectively. Now that is P, or probability of F being greater than or equal to F alpha with nu1 and nu2 degrees of freedom, and this we define to be equal to alpha. So alpha is our area in the tail above the F alpha value. The table A4, which are titled critical values for F distribution, they tabulates this value of F alpha with the nu1 and nu2 degrees of freedom for 4 values of alpha, which are 0.10, 0.05, 0.01 and 0.001, and for various values of nu1 and nu2. The degree of freedom of the numerator is tabulated in various columns, and the degrees of freedom of the denominator is shown in the various groups of rows in the table. Now, corresponding to each value of the degree of freedom of the denominator, there is a group of 4 rows exhibiting 4 values of alpha as mentioned above. So for each combination of nu1 and nu2, there are 4 critical values of f alpha nu1 nu2 that captures these different values of alpha from 0.1 to 0.05, 0.01 and 0.001 area under the f curve in the upper tail, as you would see in our figure 2. For example, to find value f alpha 610, we'll look at the intersection of column corresponding to 6 degrees of freedom of the numerator and a group of 4 rows corresponding to 4 degrees of freedom of the denominator. Now, this cell contains 4 critical value or 4 critical f values, namely 2.46, 3.22, 5.39 and 9.93, corresponding to the 4 values of alpha respectively. Now, this can be rewritten as f dot 10 is equal to 2.46, f dot 05 for 6 and 10 is equal to 3.22, f dot 01 6 and 10 is equal to 5.39, and f dot 001 for 6, 10 is equal to 9.93. To interpret f dot 10 or f dot 10610 equal to 2.46 for an f distribution with nu1 equal to 6 and nu2 equal to 10, area under the density curve to the right of value 2.46 on the horizontal axis is 10%. So you can see in this diagram that the shaded area, which is alpha, is the area under the f value of alpha with nu1, nu2. So we have the f density curve with nu1, nu2 degrees of freedom. Now, the question is how to find f value with 10% area on its left tail. Now, since the distribution is not symmetric in nature, does this mean that the left-tailed critical values must also be tabulated? However, this is not required because of the relationship between f alpha nu1 nu2 and f1 minus alpha nu1 nu2, which is given as f1 minus alpha nu1 nu2 is equal to 1 upon f alpha nu2 nu1. This is our equation 3. This can be explained as follows. The critical value f dot 10610 gives 10% area to the right, which implies 90% is to the left. Likewise, f dot n0 or 90 with 6 and 10 degrees of freedom gives 90% area to the right, and therefore 10% area to the left is captured for f distribution with nu1 and nu2 degrees of freedom for numerator and denominator respectively. We know from equation 3 that f dot n90 for 6 and 10 equal to f1 minus dot 10610, and this is equal to 1 upon f dot 10, 10 and 6. So from the table we see that 4 values lie at the intersection of the column corresponding to 10 numerator degrees of freedom and 6 denominator degrees of freedom. And further, within this group of 4 values, the first value, which is 2.94, corresponds to the 10% area to the right. Therefore, you can see that f 0.90 for 6 and 10 degrees of freedom is equal to 1 upon f 0.10, 10 and 6 degrees of freedom is equal to 1 upon 2.94, and therefore is equal to 0.340. This implies on the f density curve with 6 numerator and 10 denominator degrees of freedom, 10% area lies to the left of the f values which is equal to 0.340. Similarly, the critical value f 0.95 for 610 captures 5% area to the left tail of the F distribution, and this can be written as f 0.95 610 is equal to f1 minus 0.05 610 is equal to 1 upon f 0.05 10 6, and this is now equal to 1 upon 4.06 is equal to 0.246. So from these two examples we can generalize, and to generalize, in order to obtain the critical value f nu1 nu2 with the alpha area in the left tail, meaning 1 minus alpha in the right tail, we need to compute reciprocal of f alpha nu2 nu1 from the F table. That is the same alpha area in the F density curve with order of degrees of freedom being reversed. Let's take an example. Compute the following F values: A, f 0.05610, f 0.99812, c f 0.95512, and f 0.10 for 10 and 6 degrees of freedom. Let's see the solution of these to understand them better. Solution: to obtain these probabilities we use the table A4. Now the A part says that we have to calculate f 0.05610. Now this is 3.22, which is intersection of column nu1 for 6 and group of rows for nu2 equal to 10, and we have the second value in the cell for this 5% degrees of 5% level of significance. The solution of B is that we have to calculate f equal to 0.998 and 12 degrees. This is equal to 1 upon f 0.01128. Now this is equal to 1 upon 5.67 and is equal to 0.1764. We have obtained this by the intersection of column nu1 for 12 degrees of freedom and group of rows for nu2 equal to 8, and the reciprocal of the third value in the cell. Similarly, we see the third section. The third section is to calculate f value for 0.95 for 5 and 12 degrees of freedom. Now this is equal to 1 upon f 0.05 for 12 and 5 degrees of freedom, and is equal to 1 upon 4.68, which is equal to 0.214. Similarly, in the D part, we find f for 0.10 and 10 and 6 degrees of freedom is nothing but equal to 2.94, which is the intersection of column nu1 equal to 10 and group of rows for nu2 equal to 6, and the first value in the cell. We can have similar examples, and we have the second example here for you, and we have the corresponding solution, which I am sure you can all read from your e-text and understand this example here. I am avoiding it for short of time. Now let us try to understand the percentiles of the F distribution. As the table A.4 gives information on 4 alpha areas to the right side of the F density curve for a given values of nu1 and nu2, we can find the following percentiles only, which are 10th and 90th, 5th and 95th, 1st and 99th, and 0.1 first and 99.9th percentile. Let's take an example here. Compute the following. We have two parts in this. The first part is compute the 95th percentile of the F distribution with nu1 equal to 10 and nu2 equal to 15. And similarly, the first percentile of F distribution with nu1 equal to 11 and nu2 equal to 20. Let me give you the solution of this. To obtain these quantities, we use again table A.4. Part A. The 95th percentile is a value of F above which 5% of the values fall and below which 95% of the observations lie. That is, we require 5% area on the upper tail, and therefore this is equal to F 0.05 for 10 and 15 degrees of freedom, and this the table gives us is equal to 2.54. Similarly, in part B, the first percentile of F distribution with the nu 1 equal to 11 and nu 2 equal to 20 is a value of F above which 99% of the value fall and below which 1% of the observation lie. That is, we require 99% area on the upper tail. How do we get it? This is equal to F 0.99 for 11 and 20 degrees of freedom, and this is equal to 1 upon F 0.01, 20 and 11 degrees of freedom. And this therefore is equal to 1 upon 4.10 from the tables and is equal to 0.244. So I am sure these examples would clarify how we calculate the F values and also the percentiles from these F values. Let us now in this section 4 try to learn the applications of F distribution. The two most important applications of F distribution are related to computing interval estimates for the ratio of population variances, that is sigma 1 square upon sigma 2 square, and comparing variability of two samples drawn independently from the two different normally distributed populations. The applications are covered in the other modules. However, for completeness, we provide two examples to briefly explain the use of F distribution. The first application is given in this section 4.1, where we try to understand the F test for equality of variances. So as we have learned above that F is equal to S1 square upon sigma 1 square divided by S2 square upon sigma 2 square, which is equal to S1 square sigma 2 square upon S2 square into sigma 1 square. This is a random variable having a F distribution with the nu 1 n1 minus 1 and nu 2 n2 minus 2 n2 minus 1 degrees of freedom for the numerator and denominator respectively. Here the hypothesis is to check whether the two populations from which the samples are drawn have equal variances or not. That is, the null and alternative hypothesis are H naught is equal to sigma 1 square is equal to sigma 2 square, and HA is equal to, our alternative hypothesis is equal to sigma 1 square not equal to sigma 2 square. Now, since the F random variable involves a ratio of variances, both the hypotheses can be expressed as a ratio of the population variances. That is, we can write H naught equal to sigma 1 square upon sigma 2 square equal to 1. And the alternative hypothesis can be written as sigma 1 square upon sigma 2 square is not equal to 1. Now, accordingly, the F test statistic becomes S1 square upon S2 square with nu 1 and nu 2 degrees of freedom for numerator and denominator respectively. Further, since the alternative hypothesis involves sign of not equal to 1, the two-tailed rejection reason is used. Assuming level of significance to be alpha, then alpha by 2 area on both the sides of the distribution would be included in the rejection reason, i.e., for example, if calculated F value is either greater than or equal to F alpha by 2 nu 1 nu 2, or it is less than or equal to F 1 minus alpha by 2 for nu 1 and nu 2, we reject the null in favor of the alternative hypothesis. Let us take an example to explain the application. Suppose a lecturer in the Department of Economics asserts that there is no difference in the variability in the marks of students studying economics as a major subject, which is, let's say, group 1, and in the marks of students who studies economics as an interdisciplinary subject, let's say group 2. To test his assertion, 2 random samples from both the groups were taken with the following results. Sample size of group 1, N1 we take equal to 16. The standard deviation of group 1, which is S1 square, is 260. Let's say sample size of group 2, N2 is equal to 21, and the sample size of this group 2, S2 square, is 300. Test the assertion of the lecturer at 10% significance level. What is the solution? How will you do it? Let me give you the solution here. To test the claim, we form the following hypothesis of no difference in the variability or significant differences in the variability in the marks of 2 groups of students. That is, we write our null hypothesis H naught as sigma 1 square upon sigma 2 square is equal to 1 against the alternative hypothesis that sigma 1 square upon sigma 2 square is not equal to 1. Now the test statistics, which is F statistics, is equal to S1 square upon S2 square. This comes out to be equal to 260 upon 300 and is equal to 0.87. Now given the alternative hypothesis, it is a two-tailed test. To find the rejection reason, we require the 2 critical values of the F density curve with numerator degrees of freedom 15, which is 16 minus 1 or N1 minus 1, and denominator degrees of freedom 20, which is 21 minus 1, with 5% alpha by 2 of area in both the tails. So we require F 0.05, 15, 20 and F 0.95, 15, 20. Now using table A4, we find F 0.05, 15, 20 is 2.20 and F 0.95, 15, 20 is equal to 1 upon F 0.05, 20, 15, which is same as 1 upon 2.33 and is equal to 0.45. Therefore, the non-rejection reason consists of values of F statistics lying between 0.45 and 2.20. Since the calculated F lies in the non-rejection reason, that is F equal to 0.87 is greater than or equal to 0.45 and less than or equal to 2.20, the null hypothesis is not rejected. Hence, on the basis of the given data, we do not negate the claim of the lecturer that there is no significant difference in the variability in the marks of students studying economics as a major subject, which is group 1, and in the marks of students who studies economics as an interdisciplinary subject, which is group 2. So you can see that in our diagram also. Now we must understand that if the alternative hypothesis had been HA equal to sigma 1 square upon sigma 2 square greater than 1, or HA is equal to sigma 1 square upon sigma 2 square less than 1, we would have used one-tailed hypothesis with rejection reason consisting of only right-tailed or left-tailed area. For details, you can refer to other modules on two-sample inferences also. Now, let us understand the significance of F-test for equality of variances in this section 4.1.1. The problems involving population variances arise much less frequently. However, F-test for equality of variances is important whenever we are concerned with inferences regarding difference between means of two different population distributions, that is mu1 minus mu2. While making inferences regarding mu1 minus mu2 using sample information, t-test procedure is used under the following conditions. First, when the population from which the two samples are drawn are known to be normal, or both or one of the two samples is small, and third, the population variances are unknown. In that situation, the t statistics used is equal to x bar minus y bar upon standard error of x bar minus y bar. Now this is equal to x bar minus y bar upon under root of s1 square by n1 plus s2 square by n2. This we define as equation 4. In this, n1 and n2 are sizes of two random samples x and y. Now apart from the above assumptions, this formula is also based on an important assumption that the two population distributions have unequal variances. And here, since the two sample variances are separately used, this procedure is also called the two sample t procedure or the separate variance t test. Now before carrying out the above t test, we need to test whether this assumption is valid or not for the populations under observation. For this, we conduct the F test. So if the null hypothesis is H naught, that sigma 1 square is equal to sigma 2 square, is rejected in favor of the alternative hypothesis HA, which is sigma 1 square not equal to sigma 2 square, we continue to use the above formula. However, if the null is not rejected, means the two populations have equal variances, then we use the pooled t procedure for the testing of the difference of the means. Now in this procedure, a common variance must be estimated from the information based on both the samples, which could be denoted as SP square, where P is the pooled and S square is the joint variance. So keeping in view the difference in the two sample sizes, a weighted average of the two sample variances is used, with weights being the respective proportions of the degrees of freedom of each sample in the total degrees of freedom, which is now equal to n1 plus n2 minus 2 when the two samples are combined. Now we know that the first sample contributes n1 minus 1 degrees of freedom and the second sample contributes n2 minus 1 degrees of freedom. So in the total degrees of freedom is n1 plus n2 minus 2 when both the samples are combined. Therefore, our SP square is equal to n1 minus 1 upon n1 plus n2 minus 2 into S1 square plus n2 minus 1 upon n1 plus n2 minus 2 S2 square. Now in the t statistics formula in equation 4, S1 square and S2 square can be and are replaced by SP square. Therefore, the pooled t statistics now becomes equal to x bar minus y bar upon under root of SP square divided by n1 plus SP square divided by n2. This comes out to be equal to x bar minus y bar upon under root of SP square into 1 upon n1 plus 1 upon n2. And this is equal to x bar minus y bar upon SP into under root of 1 upon n1 plus 1 upon n2. This we are defining as our equation 5. Now recent research has shown that when sigma 1 square is equal to sigma 2 square, the use of pooled t test does perform better than the two sample t test. Let us now understand the confidence interval estimation for sigma 1 square upon sigma 2 square in this section 4.2. Another important application of F distribution is to compute confidence interval estimates for the ratio of two population variances, that is sigma 1 square upon sigma 2 square. From the above discussion, we know that the probability of F between F1 minus alpha by 2 nu 1 and nu 2 and F alpha by 2 nu 1 nu 2 is equal to 1 minus alpha. One can see figure 5 also in this, where we show the upper tail of alpha by 2 and lower tail of alpha by 2 and corresponding to F alpha by 2 and F1 minus alpha by 2. The area between these two tails is 1 minus alpha. Now replacing f with s1 square into sigma 2 square upon s2 square upon sigma 1 square from equation 2 and manipulating the terms such that the ratio sigma 2 square upon sigma 1 square remains in the middle, we obtain probability of s2 square upon s1 square into f 1 minus alpha by 2 into nu 1 nu 2 is less than or equal to sigma 2 square upon sigma 1 square, which is less than or equal to s2 square upon s1 square into f alpha by 2 nu 1 nu 2 equal to 1 minus alpha. Further, we can rewrite this as sigma 2 square upon sigma 1 square lies between the s2 square upon s1 square into 1 upon f alpha by 2 nu 2 nu 1 and s2 square upon s1 square into f alpha by 2 nu 1 nu 2, and this probability is equal to 1 minus alpha using equation 3. We can rewrite this as equation 6. Now, since we need interval estimate for the ratio sigma 2 square upon sigma 1 square, inverting each term in equation 6, we obtain probability of sigma 1 square upon sigma 2 square between which is greater than or equal to s1 square upon s2 square into 1 upon f alpha by 2 nu 1 nu 2 and is less than or equal to s1 square upon s2 square into f alpha by 2 nu 2 nu 1 is equal to 1 minus alpha. Therefore, if two samples of sizes n1 and n2 are drawn from two normal populations, then s1 square upon s2 square into 1 upon f alpha by 2 nu 1 nu 2 and s1 square upon s2 square into f alpha by 2 nu 2 nu 1 give the respective lower and upper limits for 100 into 1 minus alpha % confidence interval for the ratio of population variances, that is sigma 1 square upon sigma 2 square. An interval estimate for the ratio of population standard deviations, which is sigma 1 upon sigma 2, is obtained by taking the square root of each of these limit. Let us take example 5, which would explain the use of this. Now, on the basis of this given information, obtain 98% confidence interval estimate for both the ratio of population variances sigma 1 square upon sigma 2 square and standard deviations sigma 1 upon sigma 2, where we are given n1 is equal to 26, n2 is equal to 16, s1 square is equal to 4 and s2 square is equal to 2.90. Look at the solution. For a 98% confidence interval, 1 minus alpha is equal to 0.98 or alpha is equal to 0.02, which implies that alpha by 2 is equal to 0.01 and nu 1 is equal to 25 and nu 2 is equal to 15. Further, the two respective f values giving cutoff areas of 1.1% on the left and the right tails are f 0.01 25 15 and f 0.99 25 15. Now we know that f 0.99 25 or 25 and 15 is equal to 1 upon f 0.01 15 and 25 is equal to 1 upon 25 and therefore is equal to 0.351. And f 0.01 for 25 and 50 degrees of freedom is 3.28 using our tables. Therefore, we can conclude that 98% confidence interval estimate for sigma 1 square upon sigma 2 square is equal to 4 upon 2.90 into 0.351 less than or equal to sigma 1 square upon sigma 2 square, which is less than or equal to 4 upon 2.90 into 3.28. Now, if you solve these, we further obtain 0.484 and 4.52 as the lower and the upper limits respectively, within which the ratio sigma 1 square upon sigma 2 square is expected to lie with 98% confidence. Further, taking square root of both the limits, we obtain 0.696 and 2.13 as the two limits of confidence interval for the ratio sigma 1 upon sigma 2. Let us now discuss about the caution regarding normality assumption in our section 4.3. For application of F distribution, we assume that both the population distributions are normally distributed. Now here it must be kept in mind that the F test is very sensitive to the assumption of normality. Therefore, even if there is a mild deviation from normality for either of the two population distributions, we should avoid using F distribution, and in that case, a non-parametric approach should be followed. The t-test mentioned in the earlier modules is also based on the assumption of normal population. However, the sensitivity of the F-test is much more than that of the t-distribution. So let us, students, try to summarize and see what we have learned in this module. So in this module, I may say we have learned about the F distribution, which finds extensive application in comparing variability of two sample variances and determining confidence interval estimates of the ratios of the two population variances. We have also learned the calculation of the F-test statistics is based on the ratio of the two sample variances. Accordingly, the degree of freedom of the numerator and of the denominator are the two parameters of the F distribution. Those are nu1 and nu2. The F distribution is not a symmetric curve. Therefore, both the left hand and the right hand critical values are to be calculated separately for inferential statistics. We have also learned that one of the main reasons for testing the difference between the two population variances is to find out the appropriateness of the two sample t procedure or pooled t procedure for testing the hypothesis for the difference between two sample means. Similar to the t distribution, the F distribution also concerns with two independent populations that are normally distributed. Therefore, before using F distribution, it must be ensured that both the sample population distributions are independent and are normally distributed. Thank you, students. You can refer to appendix tables for calculating the F values for different degrees of freedom for nu1 and nu2. The tables are appended with this module, and hence I am sure you will make use of these tables and do some more numerical examples applying this F distribution. Thank you very much.